And I thought I was pretty darn happy, pretty darn fulfilled. But I gotta tell you, when someone told me to tell myself I love myself in the mirror, I bawled like a baby. But it took me about 10 minutes looking in the mirror. And I was like, I love you. Looking to the left, looking to the right. It's mirror work. When I finally hit my eyes to my eyes and felt like I was bawling because I was like, I don't love myself. Like, I don't accept myself for who I am. Like, and I'm a pretty confident person. I feel like I am, but I don't.
Hey, if you've been thinking about doing a podcast, or maybe you know you need to, but you don't want to, check out 7-Day Podcast Pro. It's on my webpage at Coach Laurie, LAURIE.com. We take what you've already got and we turn it all into podcasts, and then you can easily keep your podcast up with 30 minutes a week. It's very doable and it's such an asset to your business. Be sure and check it out, CoachLaurie.com.
Has your life, your dreams been interrupted? Good news. It is possible to reinvent our lives. People are doing it every day, and some are brave enough to share the struggles, disappointments, and challenges. If you are looking for a new beginning, a do-over, or to rediscover your passion, maybe even find a new one, then grab a cup of coffee and let's talk. Interrupted, Act 2, Reinventing Your Legacy, with your host, Coach Laurie.
Ironically, I never ever dreamed of this. Ever dreamed of living in an RV. COVID, it kind of came to fruition. I just knew I wanted to always travel. And I knew my whole life has been I've been the freedom child. So I'm a baby there's 6 of us and 2 stepkids. And I was the only kid who left the state. Everybody else got the 2.5 kids, picket fence, home, full-time job, like career. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go across the country. The travel and like the spontaneity kind of person has always been there. The freedom child, as I call it. The RV living kind of came into play. Because if you heard the last time I was ever in an RV, it was like a family trip and it was horrible. We were like 8 of us in an RV, and my step siblings and my regular siblings, and they didn't get along. It was just from Jersey to Florida. It was like the most, and I was like, I'm never doing it again. And now I live in an RV. It's hilarious. The freedom life.
She's a freedom coach or freedom mentor, and she loves destiny makers. Jackie Cote, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this. Everyone raves about you.
Thank you. And you. What I love about what you do is the word freedom. As an older woman, I don't know what your target audience is, but as an older woman, walking into retirement and Social Security doesn't always feel like freedom. That's what attracted me to what you were doing in your life. Not only are you living your freedom life, but now you're helping women do that as well. So tell us what you do. Tell us about your retreats and your coaching and what you love about it.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize what I'd been doing. I come from a 30-year background in the restaurant industry of leadership management. After going to school for teaching, and realized after 1 year of teaching, I'm like, I can't be boxed into a system. I definitely realized that quickly. After that, I got into the industry, and what kept me doing 60 hours a week, 80 hours a week, nights, weekends, all the things, was the mentorship of people. It was the fact that I could see what people couldn't see in themselves, hold that gift of belief up for them, help them get there. And I promoted hundreds of people in companies like Starbucks and Outback and Cava and Potbelly, and I had so much fun doing it. But what I didn't have is I didn't have time freedom. I didn't have money freedom. I got to travel with them because I chose to do openings for them. I had some location freedom, but really, like, I only got paid what they told me I was worth. Well, then back in 2018, I met this industry called coaching. And I don't know about you, but coaching was new to me. It was like football coach, soccer coach is all I knew. And it really opened my eyes to what was possible. And then when I saw that I could take all my skills of what I was really good at and put it into my own business, I was like, magical land, like this is a magical place. 2019, I got fired, and 2 months after I met coaching, and I went into my own business after that, about 6 months later. But I got to tell you, this is important to the story because I took 6 months off because I'd never taken more than a week off in my life since I was like 15. I took 6 months off and I traveled places, and I went to like family, and then I went on some trips before I actually dove into the business. And once I tasted that freedom, like I couldn't go back. I became officially unemployable. And that created what is now Jackie Cote Coaching, which is where I help women one-on-one retreats and masterminds, group programs, memberships, all the things. But I really help them kind of become, awaken, empower, and own who they are and become the woman that is like dying inside to come out and play. I don't know about you, but when we get to this place, it's usually around the 40s, right? And then we start to go, there's something more to this thing called life. And it's very much so after we've created these 20, 30, 15, 20, 30 years of like doing what we should have been doing and creating the success and the money. But then we realize, where's the life I really want? And so I help them create the life and fit that success and money. And a lot of times it's like taking away like things off their plate, delegating things out, quitting things, releasing things, whether that's internal or external stuff that doesn't serve them anymore, and really step into what they're meant to be having in their life, empowered, and then owning the heck out of who they are. Because you know what? We don't need to explain ourselves. We get to live this unapologetically. So that's why I'm so passionate now being able to do that.
What I love about what you said was how it's sort of a process. And when I became a coach, if you can believe this, in 1999, people thought it was woo woo. And like
Yeah.
people in my church were like, what are you getting yourself into? They would say that 60s thing where I'm going to go find myself. They're like, oh, you're just going to tell people to quit their job and go live their dream. There's a little more to it than that.
Oh, you're absolutely spot on. And it really took that moment of me seeing this. It's so funny. I saw a friend on Facebook and he was really happy. And we do the same. We were in the same industry at the time. And I was like, why are you suddenly really happy? And I called him. I like booked at my job. I booked an office just and quoted a meeting because I was unhappy at my last job. I was very unhappy. I would cry before going into work almost every day, going, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, but I got to make it work because as women, we make it work. We fit the square into the circle no matter what. It was the first time I was unhappy in my career because I really enjoyed my career. I called him up and I was like, why are you happy? He's like, then he told me about this coaching world that I mentioned. I didn't know that was possible, but then I went to an event. I went to one of those like events that's like it was HCI, the company I went to, and I saw it was possible. And if I hadn't gone to that, if I hadn't joined that and gone to that and just explored and got curious of what else is possible, I was like, well, if they have a business, so can I. Like if they can do this, so can I. Now, I wasn't planning on diving all in. I was planning on taking the 12 months to do my life certificate, my health certificate while I had a job, while I did it safely. Universe God had a different story. And 2 months into it, like I said, I got fired. And I was like, you know what? This is the time that I can either go back to what I'm comfortable doing, what the brain knows is safe, or I can bet on me and give it a shot. And I got to tell you one quick story because there was an interview I did to get a job, to do the right thing, what I should be doing, the safe thing, the responsible thing. And the guy knew me from another job. It was a different company. And he's like, hey, Jackie, I don't need to interview you. I love you. I'd hire you in a heartbeat, but I got to ask you a question. He goes, what do you really want to do? And it's like he like sensed something in me that like was like, I wasn't all in on getting a job. And when he asked me that, I was like, well, let me tell you about this coaching thing. And I told him all about it. And he was like, okay. He's like, how much money do you have saved up? And I was like, well, happen to be in a good situation. I paid off my cars. My credit cards. I'm like, I've got the savings. He's like, great. He's like, how long could you live on it? And I said, a year. He's like, call me in a year. He goes, go give it a shot, try it, and then get back to me if it doesn't work. And he gave me the permission. So it's possibility, but it's also giving ourselves the permission to go for what it is. I had to borrow that permission from him and that belief in him. He goes, I believe you're going to do it. And he was like, but if it doesn't work out, I'll give you a job in a year, to try it out. And that just, I never applied for another job after that. So I think that in the possible, like when we can see what's possible, we got to get curious in life about what else is out there, really talk to people in communities like me and you have met in and have conversations so we can see what's possible. Because without that, we don't have the awareness to go forward and even try something different and new.
The call I met you on, I don't remember exactly what the topic was, but all the people in the room, the Zoom room, had left corporate jobs to do their own thing. Recently, I had a situation. I worked at a radio station that I absolutely loved, but it was only part-time. I wasn't making the money I wanted to make, but I also wasn't building my business because I had options. So I got offered this amazing, huge, big paying job, and I went and took it. And the day I started, the person who hired me left to a bigger radio station and a whole new team came in. Guess what? They'd already picked their team. So I was redundant. I had always believed when I left radio, I would be so sad because I loved it so much. But what happened is the day I drove out of that parking lot, what I realized is it's kind of that idea of burning the ship. You drop off the people on the beach. Are we going to win this war? What's our backup plan? There's no backup plan. And I have been so happy because now I don't have the distraction of what I know and what's easy for me.
Yes, and that's why I call the day I got fired the best day of my life. Because I wouldn't have left. Gosh, 30 years since I was 15 to 47. I needed something to just smack me like wake up. It's time. But to your point earlier, if I didn't have the possible, if I didn't see what was possible previous to getting fired, I probably would have gone the normal route of going getting the other job and yada yada. Everything happens for us exactly when it's meant to happen and how it's supposed to happen. And I truly believe that, even though when people say that to you, you want to like punch them in the face sometimes. You're like, really? I don't think so. But at the same time, like I get it now. And now I get it in the moment. Like I used to like see it in hindsight, but now there's just so much awareness because of the work that I've done on myself and what I do for others. Like that's like in the moment, I'm like, okay, I can see why this is happening for me, even if it's not very pleasant. Like 2024 was a year of pure adversity, challenges, mom, dad, different stuff, all sorts of stuff. And every moment I was like, okay, I can see why that's happening. Okay, I can see what it hurts, but I can see why that's happening. Okay, awesome. I'm so grateful for this journey. I can't even, I'm so grateful I got fired.
I always tell people get a coach, get a coach. I think getting a coach is the best thing you can do for yourself. Something I deal with a lot is I hear people say, oh, God told me to do this or that. And then I find there's these people that are just waiting to hear what God has to say because they're like, well, God told my friend or God told someone or even someone famous that has given a talk. And waiting around for that can really stop us.
Oh, 100%. Like there wasn't a lightning bolt thing for me either, except for the fact that I can look back and I can go, if it wasn't for me seeing him online, happy, making that phone call, saying yes to like, well, I haven't been in college since 1990, 1994, so I might as well do a little schooling and have some fun, you know? And if it wasn't for that, like we can all, I think all of us could piece through how we got to where we are. The biggest thing that helped me move forward and through all of the things that I didn't realize I had, like all the stories that I had inside and all the, if we want to call it limiting beliefs, I don't really call them that, but like all the things until I hired my coach. Like I did the group program, I did the get the certification, so I had the awareness of the business. And then I did this like big mastermind kind of group that was second level, higher level education of like the things. But then when I got the one-on-one coach, I remember doing this. I remember interviewing coaches and I was like, okay, you've got the business I want. So I'm going to hire you. And I really liked her. You know, I always tell people interview different people because it's a vibe, it's a connection. You got to trust that like energy piece too, which I didn't really fully understand, but I did in that moment. And I was like, all right, teach me how to build my coaching business. And I got to tell you, Laurie, I cried on my bed for 9 months straight working with her. And I was like, I didn't hire you for this. Like, what the heck? I didn't know what I didn't know. I couldn't read my own label, right? I was stuck in this jar. I was stuck in what it is. And I was a pretty like successful, happy person overall. But what I didn't realize was holding me back from what I didn't know I was being held back from wasn't until I got a coach that could help me read my own label, help me like see what I couldn't see, help me go like, oh, this is a belief that you have, and that's why you never made six figures in your industry because you believe that you weren't worthy of that. You know, so whether it was worthiness or whether it was holy and the inner healing, and the biggest one was the loving myself. The biggest one was the day I discovered that like how much I did not, and I thought I was pretty darn happy, pretty darn fulfilled, but I gotta tell you, when someone told me to tell myself I love myself in the mirror, I bawled like a baby. But it took me about 10 minutes looking in the mirror. And I was like, I love you. Looking to the left, looking to the right. It's mirror work, right? And when I finally hit my eyes to my eyes and felt like I was bawling because I was like, I don't love myself. Like I don't accept myself for who I am. Like, and I'm a pretty confident person. I feel like I am, but I don't. And that was the journey. That was the beginning of a big journey that helped a relationship that I'm in now for 9 years. We were breaking up at year 3 when it's all happened, and we're still together now, married 9 years later. And it helped me like become like this woman that I never knew was existed inside. Like I knew, but I didn't know. And that 9 months of crying helped me break open so that I could do the business. So what I thought was all strategy I needed, it wasn't. It was 80% was between these two ears. And without that help of someone else helping you with that, you won't move forward. You'll stay in the cycle. You'll stay in the spiral.
I'm seeing a better trend now, but as a woman entrepreneur way back in the 90s, 80s, actually, I felt like I had to do it all by myself. And I would go to the copy store and make my brochures. And there wasn't other women doing that. And so I always got this feeling it's a do it yourself. And then sometimes when people would want to collaborate, they kind of wanted to ride on your success. Like they didn't want to help you. They wanted you to take what you've already done and boost them up, which I believe in that, but also it's got to be collaborative. Let's help each other. Then I would find myself helping people and then I was still in the same place. And part of my thing was I was a single mom living on an island. And so I had some restrictions because my kids wanted to be with their family. I made that decision. But also seeing all these women in collaboration, helping each other, lifting each other up. Me coming from the industry of radio where there's one token female jock,
Yes.
and that is no longer. So I'm loving that women are a little harder for us to ask for help because we kind of have that feeling of superwoman. But I love it that there's this new movement of let's help each other.
I call myself a recovering I got it girl because we are the I got it girls. I got it. I don't need your help. I'll fix it. Ever since I was a kid, my mom passed when I was 5. And so my dad was running a construction company. He was raising 6 kids. So a lot of the siblings were older and out of the house. So I learned early on if I needed laundry, I had to know how to do it. If I needed to eat, I would cook. If I needed to get to school, figure it out. You ask questions. I became this very resilient, independent, I got it. But it came from this place of like fear and control and survival. Right. And that's most of us. Like we have survival mechanisms. We've learned most of our life that way. And so I always thought I was alone in this gig. I mean, yes, I grew up Catholic with God, but I didn't understand the whole higher power. Then when I got into this journey, I was like, I realized I'm like, oh, like I've never been alone. I've actually been fully supported and I get to be supported and I get to receive from other people like help. That receiving journey for women, it takes a while to really grasp. Even just recently, I had a huge aha on receiving. To your point, what I started to discover was like, oh my gosh, like we can create community, like we can work together. By the way, I was the token higher up in the restaurant jobs. Like I was the only female at the district manager table that ran multiple units. And I'd look around, I'm like, this has got to change. And before I left, I promoted quite a few women into higher level positions, which I was proud that I left that mark on there because it's a male dominated industry, the restaurant industry. Fast forward, like now I've got the relationships that I have that started 6 years ago when I started this journey trump anything I've ever had in the 30 years of the restaurant industry. Now I've got some high school friends, I've got some college friends that are like my ride or dies, but the relationships I've made and why? It's because I value myself and I love myself. So I attract women who do the same. And I attract women into my life and I allow women to support me, which was a huge thing that I didn't ever allow. I didn't allow anybody to. It was just this past year that I allowed my husband to actually be like the masculine role in the relationship. Ladies, learn how to receive. And if you need help, let us know.
That's so good. I wrote a book and in it I said, the hardest thing for me as a single mom was asking for help. The second hardest thing was receiving the help.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes. It starts with as simple as like when you get a compliment, learn how to just say thank you and receive it. That was the beginning of like the understanding that I just didn't allow anybody. I'd be the person who's like, no, don't open the door for me with like a suitcase on my head, 2 suitcases in hand. I was never a mom of my own children, but I can imagine as a mom, it's like, no, I got it. I got it. No, oh, baby's attached here. You got like 3 kids in tow and have mad respect for moms. When it comes to the receiving side, an example recently was I went on a East Coast trip up and down for 4 weeks because my family's on the East Coast. The retreat that I run's on the East Coast. Everywhere I went, I stayed with somebody. I totally let myself receive. They cooked for me. One of them even did my laundry at one of the houses. And I didn't have this, that feeling where you're like, okay, they did this nice thing for me. I got to buy them a gift. I got to get them flowers. Like we turned it into transactions. And I've lived such a transactional life. We feel like, okay, they gave to me. I got to give to them. And we don't. We get to just receive in that moment because it's the energy swirls around someone else that they're going to receive from someone else. Like, and the gift it is on their face. I would watch the joy it brought on their face to do for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to sound, to some people, this might sound really cocky, but I am the gift. Like I was the gift for them in that moment that I chose to stay at their house and spend this time with them and have conversations and break bread with them and all this stuff. And I didn't realize literally till last month, I was like, that's what true receiving is. It's just allowing and receiving. And I did it the whole month. And I was like, this is beautiful.
Those are some of the things, like I love that you said, hey, I was well adjusted, happy. You weren't miserable looking for something. I mean, yeah, maybe the job wasn't so great. So I'm thinking the kind of person that might come looking to work with you is maybe exhausted and going, you know what? It's my turn.
Yes, 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 yes. Most of the women are in that range of they're ready for the what's next. They don't necessarily fully know, but they know. Like they know, but they're not quite clear on it. And so that's why we work a lot on visioning. And like I say, awakening that inner self because you're irritated. You're not unhappy, but you're just like, and I kind of describe a lot of the stuff I do through like feelings. It's not so much like a pinpoint thing. It's an inner knowing that you just know. And like I have two sisters, they built a business for 22 years. They want to walk away, but they harbor shame, guilt. What if the team doesn't like, respect us anymore? If we like lessen how many hours we work? And then they're like, we don't even know what we want to do in our next because we've never let ourselves dream in that. And in a situation like that, I help them hire the right people to like take over their position so they could work less. And like, cause I could build teams blindfolded because I did it for 30 years. That's really not like my main focus is the person, and everything else that will come from that. Letting them know you're allowed. Like you get to move on, you get to do something more, you get to do something different. There's story after story like that of just women who are like, they're in that zone of, I'm done doing for everyone else and I really want to do for me.
I know that feeling. And often when people won't let us help, rather than seeing it as receiving, we feel like they don't like us or don't want us. So many things that we just have to change the way we're looking or seeing.
Mm-hmm,
And I
mm-hmm.
love it that you said, wait a minute, I am the gift. My time, my energy being here is the gift.
A couple of years ago, I don't know about you, but during this whole past 5, 6 years, I've been like, I want to try everything. So someone tells me about Akashic readings. I'm like, yeah, let me try it. Someone tells me about human design. I'm like, yeah, let me figure it out. Let me try it. Like I'm open. I'm curious. I encourage women to be super curious about things in life. And that's how you discover yourself, being curious. And that's how you end up finding your authentic self. And this Akashic reader one time was like, okay, I'm going to say something and it's going to feel uncomfortable, but all you have to do is show up. You don't have to try so hard. You just have to show up and be, and lives will be changed. And I was like, excuse me? I just have to be like, I'm here. Like I've arrived. I said, I don't know if I can own that. That's cocky. And then I said, but I'm willing to observe. She was so spot on. Like when I do my retreats, like I don't have planned out agendas. Like I have like, times when we're going to eat and stuff, but I literally stand in front of the room and I ask a question and then everything unfolds exactly the way it's meant to unfold. And then this person says this and connects with this. And then all of a sudden, like the magic happens. And I literally just have to stand there and the magic happens. This happens in my membership calls. I initiate conversation and then it just happens and the magic happens, unfolds. And I'm like, oh, she's right. And I'm like, I get to own that. And I don't have to apologize for it. Like I just get to own it. And it makes everybody else so much more at ease and welcome because I'm not trying so hard. And I'm not trying to like, how do I say it? Like predict what they need to do and make sure it's all planned out. No, I can't. I don't function that way. I'm glad she said it to me. At the time, I did not receive it. 2 years later, I receive it.
We're going through a time where we're just lonely. COVID, isolated a lot of people. It then unisolated a lot of people too. And one of my big things is for people who present and talk is how are you talking in a way that people feel like they're on your team or they matter? And like I had to be on so many Zoom calls and the leader would get up and say, welcome everybody. Hey, you guys. And I would just get on my phone. They're not talking to me. They don't care about me. The truth is they're not accessible, a lot of those more guru leaders, but they could talk in a way that made me feel like they saw me. Being seen and heard is such a value. And that's what you're bringing to the table. You're like, I'm here. I'm going to see you. I don't have an agenda for you. I'm just going to let you show up and let's see what happens. In this busy world, that is a rare thing.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that and pointing that out because I used to think it had to be when I started the coaching journey. I think I had to come with all of the knowledge and the power and the this and the that and the agenda and the teachings and make it the Jackie show. I was so resistant to it. I did it because like that's what I saw. But then I realized like I know this isn't about me. And I didn't ever mean it to be about me, but I just didn't know any better yet at that point or different at that point. Now I understand that like I'm here to hold space. This is for you to see you. And I'm a mirror. I'm a reflection. I'm the one who's going to see what you can't see because this is not my agenda. I'm on your map, not mine. And it's so beautiful when somebody discovers the own pieces of themselves that they're like, I didn't even realize that. Like, oh my gosh. And now I can own that or I can stand in certainty of that. And I didn't tell them that. They found it. Like when you know that saying they say everything's inside of us already, like everything we need's inside of us. Again, another statement that people want to usually go, shut up. But it's true. Like everything is truly inside of us. And that's why I want to really help people realize and discover that about themselves. I did this values exercise for my business because I never really pulled values for my business. I pulled them for myself. And it was so interesting the ones that came up that like shine like a light off the page. It was curiosity, authenticity, trust, and fun. That's so true. Like if I can help somebody get really curious about themselves and eventually geek out over themselves, which I love. Like I want you to geek out over every little thing that shifts in you, that changes in you, that you discovered that, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like geek out about yourself through curiosity and then become authentically you. Because I don't know what that meant when someone said that to me. But if I can help you become authentically you and find those pieces of you that have been hiding that are like excited to come out, and then trust the journey, trust that everything's happening for us, and have a ton of fun along the way, then I've accomplished my job.
Often when people step into this journey, they come up against resistance. And I've learned what we resist persists.
I'm a manifesting generator and I have a heck yes or a heck no kind of response. And when I learned about that and really owned that, I would coach people to build their coaching businesses. I'd help mentor them one-on-one. And they had learned their coaching business through one of those cookie cutter systems. And I was so resistant. Like I didn't want to make them do it my way, but I didn't want them to do it a way that wasn't them. I found a resistance in there. I was like, I can't, if this person wants to do it like a structured cookie cutter way and not be themselves, I can't work with them. And I realized that, and it's so beautiful because the two people that I worked with in the past like that we fought a lot, like, and sometimes, you push back on with your clients and you go, okay, have you considered this? Have you considered making it your own? Have you considered, and they're like, this is what works. And I'm like, okay. Fast forward 4 years after I worked with them, they're doing it their way. So they had to have their journey. They had to discover through like the journey of, because I've had multiple interrupted moments in this past 5 years of like, this isn't the way I want to do this. Just this last year, like I switched everything around last year to this year. I'm a different person than I was last year from the experiences in my life last year. And I mentor completely different, not completely different. There's always a core that's the same. But now I'm a different version of myself that I'm a really love, really love.
How can people find you if they want to work with you or go to your retreats?
My website, JackieCoteCoaching.com. I always tell people too, the main platform for me is Facebook. I'm on all of them, but Facebook's kind of where all the magic flows through me easily. And it's like my digital diary. If people want to know my vibe or get to know me or like see my, like, where's Waldo, as I say, because even though I live in an RV and I'm stationary now, we were used to travel a lot, like place to place to place, and we'll do that again someday. When we're stationary, I go traveling. So like I was on the East Coast, and then tomorrow I leave for Austin, and then I'm going to Denver, and then so my Facebook, be friends with me. But if you do friend me on Facebook, you got to tell me you met me on Laurie's podcast so I can give her some credit and shout out. And I have one link that Laurie will share that has a link to everything from my life.
Pardon. We're about to have a little different kind of Me Too moment here. And as I was talking to Jackie about this thing that we both have in common, it just again reminded me how I wish there was a podcast ability available when I went through this to get the support I needed and to help other people. If you are going through something, if you've gone through something, if you know something, share your wisdom. You can do it in a podcast and I can help you. It might not be as hard as you think. And always remember, your story matters. So before we go, this has been so brilliant, and I could talk coaching all day because it changed my life when you said you learned to love yourself. When I was in coaching class, they said you had to love yourself. And I laughed. I just thought that was so ridiculous. And of course, the mirror work. So I go home and I can't do it. But what I did is I believed these women that I was in this group with, and I believed them. And so I said, okay, I'm going to give it a try. And I did the things. I don't even remember all the things. I think they had us write something and mirror something. You probably had to write in lipstick on the mirror back in the 90s, When I looked in the mirror and I decided I was worthy. And I don't even like saying worthy, but that I had value. What happened for me was my whole life turned upside down. Now, you might think that's terrible, but I was married to a man who was gay. And it was back in the day where this does not happen to me. So you
Me
were
too.
too.
Yeah, for 5 years.
Yeah. So we had been married 14 years, 3 kids. When I decided to love myself, he basically had a nervous breakdown. And the reason is he was living a lie. And now because I wasn't just going, I didn't know. We did, it's like, but you don't know. But when
Hmm.
I started caring about myself and asking more of him, he couldn't do it because he had to live his life too.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
everything fell apart, but then we found a way to do it all. But I say, after 14 years of marriage and 3 kids, my husband left me for David. And not only that, he took my best tiara and cemented my status as a single mom. What was your journey? How did you find out?
I've shared it before, but again, I was the one, like my family all did the 2.5 kids, picket fence, house in Jersey, all stayed in Jersey, all my family's back there. And then I was the kid who just kind of after college, like went and did my thing. I was in my 30s and I'm like, gosh, like why am I not married? It's not. And I met my best, like one of my best friends, this guy, his name is Mark, and we just got along really well. And so I just said, well, I'm supposed to get married. And we were like best friends. And 95% of our relationship was really great. We had fun and we got married, and we didn't have any kids, so I didn't have to experience that. And then eventually in the 5th year he called me one time and said, I'm confused. And I was doing a lot of travel for work to and from, and I wasn't home for quite a bit. And he opened up and he told me, I'm confused, this and that. So ours was actually pretty amicable. And then I found out he admitted he was molested, but he never told anybody. So he went, am I confused on that, or do I think it's that, then I became his, like, of course, his mentor, his coach. And I'm like, I can't, what am I doing? Like, because I can fix it, right? I mean, I got it, girl. I can fix this. And I immediately, I owned it. Like I agreed with him when he said it, because I was like, I kind of knew, like you said, but you don't know, and you don't want to really face it. I also, like, my weight had gotten the highest it had ever been. Like my health wasn't great at the time. I was happy, quote unquote, right? So I was faking it. We ended it. Now here's the funny part about my current relationship. Our first date, that was what we had in common. His ex is gay. My ex is gay. We had this conversation. His was not amicable. His was not wonderful. She cheated on him, and he had a very negative take on it. I had a good take on it. I say good. I realized later on there were some unhealthy attachments and things that I needed to, like, really cut loose and stuff with it. But that's not a common thing. I know. Like, I think it's becoming more common, but I think it's funny that we have that in common.
That is so crazy. And I remember people would say, I have a friend. Can she call you? I'm like, yes. And people wouldn't call. There wasn't a support group. I could have gone on the Christian speaking tour and I could have got I could have got famous for what I went through.
Hmm.
But I was not
Hmm.
going to do that to my children. They loved their dad. I loved their
Hmm.
dad. I wasn't going to demonize him. I chose not to do that. It just seemed so odd to me that people were like, oh, but then they wouldn't talk about it. And one time I went to a women's retreat and we met with the group before. We weren't going to talk about this, but I said in the group before of all the leaders, I told them my story, and this woman started bawling. And so I'm like, what's that? And so finally I just go, I see you're really upset. And I said, don't have to, but do you want to share? And she said, she looked at all these women. I've known you all my whole life. And she says, you do not know that when my husband left 10 years ago, it was for a man. And you all told me I should dress better. I should have tried harder. He left me for a man.
I remember saying to him, I said, he's like, no, maybe we can figure something out. And I said, I can't compete with the whole world. So I can compete with other women, but I can't compete with both.
Yeah, people
Right?
would say, at least it's a man. I'm like, oh no, no. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. It's like one of those, like, you want to be, you're totally okay with it because they're going to finally live their own life, right? Their true self. You also feel robbed because you're like, why did you? But then you also understand, like, the piece. So it's, we get to have our pissed off feelings. We get to have our, like, and that's any relationship. It doesn't matter, like gay, straight, whatever it is. Like, there's this underlining, like, oh gosh, like, could I have had kids if I met someone else, or if I'd done this, or if I had done that? Because I had a couple miscarriages, but and everything happens the way it's supposed to, but and then same thing, like and it's funny, is like when I met him, my husband, he harbored a lot of anger about his because he was cheated on. So it's like, I don't care if it was a woman, a man, but I was cheated on. I was, behind the scenes, and that's not right. They had 4 kids. And so 4 kids, 18 years, like all sorts of stuff. And then she would bring women into the house to the kids that were not very nice. It didn't matter, like, fine, you want a commitment, but I mean, you want to have a relationship, but make sure that you're bringing decent people. He wasn't allowed to. He wasn't allowed to have people in the same house as the kids, but she was. It was very weird. So when I met him, there's a lot of pent up anger. And so to observe both sides, I discounted my anger because mine wasn't as bad as his. We do that as women, right? We discount, like, my trauma's not that bad compared to yours. So I don't have to really, well, yeah, I do. Like, I get to be pissed. I get to be angry. I get to have all the things. And I get to have joy that he found his way. I get to have joy that he released me so that I can have a relationship that I love, like that I can have a life. There's just such a duality. There's so much duality in the scenario, and it's no different than any other thing. But
this has been so great because I think that was what was missing for me was a place to vent. Like I didn't want to talk in front of my kids because they love their dad, so I was very careful. And there really weren't people. There wasn't internet, just email at the time. I didn't have any kind of support group. And the ones that were there were pretty much, let's get them out of this lifestyle. And so that wasn't what I needed. This might sound weird. It's refreshing to meet someone that's been through it because there are all those emotions and feelings. And I'll never forget in the grocery store, small town, somebody came up to me, patted me on the back and said, I knew it. I knew it. I always knew it. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you. What? Are you kidding me?
I can't tell you how many of my friends were like, we were wondering the day of your marriage, why? And I'm like meaning like they knew, they could tell this and that. And here's the thing, like I actually don't, we had 5 amazing years together and he's still a friend of mine. There's, again, duality of life. As angry as I am about the fact that like wasted my years in that capacity of possibly having this, that, da, da, da. Like I went through that. I don't have that anymore. But then there's like, I wouldn't have had like the friendship that we have and all the other stuff, pieces of it. So it's like, and that doesn't make him a bad person for discovering himself finally and realizing, oh my gosh, like this, I get to, like his mom gave him a pamphlet, you're making bad decisions, and pamphlets from like, we can fix this. And the poor kid, he's like, I don't know, can I? And I'm like, do not listen to your mom, please. Like, this is who you are. But for people, I don't know, I kind of got that, like, I kind of got annoyed with that statement when people come to me and go, we knew, I did it. And I'm like, come on. I'm like, it's kind of like adding salt to the wound, in my opinion. Like when someone says, oh, we knew and you didn't, but we never mentioned it. And I was like, okay, thanks.
It's almost, yeah, it's almost like they're saying you're an idiot.
Yeah,
that's what I
pretty
felt
much.
like. Why don't you just say you're an idiot?
And I was like, at least I got 5 amazing years with one of my best friends.
And for me, I say, I have amazing kids.
Mm-hmm.
I have amazing kids.
That's what we tell him.
There are all those things, but you said something earlier about how things happen. Now, I don't believe it happened for a reason because it was all based on lies, but I think what we brought was things each other needed.
Yeah.
And because of being with him, I was able to work through some really traumatic childhood things because he was safe. We can look at it in all these different ways. And I think that's what I loved about coaching. Coaching was so pivotal for me because it turned my world upside down because I had to look at me. Right. So
Amen
often
to that.
we are the problem. But then
wait, no, them. Yes. No, these 3 fingers pointing back at me.
But it helped me walk through it. It helped me, I feel like, and with my kids, I did the best I could really with what I had. A lot of people say that when they didn't do anything, but I used my coaching to help talk, to help work through, to help get through it. It was a journey. It's still a journey. It's like when I look back, I don't say I wish that didn't happen. I wish my childhood didn't happen. I look at where I am and where I'm going, and I'm grateful for the life that I get to live.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't regret any of it. Like I'm just, every darkness has given us the ability to love even more in the light of love after the situation. We could probably go on for story after story. Conversation. We could probably talk for about 3 hours.
I'm sure we could. Well, Jackie's my new best friend. And
call me anytime, girl.
I love it. Before we go, we have covered so much ground, but what is it you really want us to know?
Ooh, I just stop. Please stop waiting to live that life. Like there's that inner knowing that we've got as women, especially as women. Like we have really fierce intuitions, but it's just too much noise around us to listen. So get quiet, get a community, like be with self. By the way, I hated being with myself too for like, I didn't realize how much, when we just talked about that, like, and that was now to love being with myself is a whole nother podcast, I think. But stop waiting to like go to that next. Like, don't wait for go try something. Like, that's what, get curious, go explore something, because you just don't know. Like, I have a membership group that like I was just interviewed a couple of my members just to find out like, okay, where you at? Like, what do you want more of? And they said the biggest thing we love is that we can come in and we can just be ourselves, be seen, speak up, say what we want to say, like in a very like loving, constructive way to each other kind of thing, unapologetically. And I walk out more confident being me every session. Like, I don't know, and I don't know why, but I just do. Like, and then like we don't know what it's going to be that we're going to get each session, but we just do. That comes from a place of putting yourself out there and trying new things and exploring and meeting people. If you're not in a place where you're not currently feeling fulfilled or feeling like there's just something more, like start connecting with other people and get a coach. I know that helped me big time.
Thank you so much.
So very welcome. Thank you for having me.
If you love this podcast, here's a big ask. Will you share with your friends and family, subscribe, give us a review, and a 5-star rating so that others looking to reinvent their lives will be able to get the help they're looking for? Thank you in advance.